Well, guys, I'm back. I apologize. It has been too long. I'll be the first to say that. I think one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to take out the film crew and bring the support staff with us when we go out and visit these facilities. But one of the things I've been doing, I think we've been putting a little too much emphasis on the production value. So I've actually taken crews out with me to the farm. We've gone to the production facility, the processing facility. We also went to Canacon. We've done a lot of things, but I think part of the problem is we're exploring new opportunities all the time, chasing down new leads. I mean, the market right now is so target rich that I'm having lots of meetings there. We're even filming some of those just to get kind of a backlog of content, and that's going to play into our long-term marketing strategy. We don't have the ability to use a lot of the traditional marketing means for both the Pubco and the brands that we represent. So we are going to be utilizing a really unique strategy that's going to incorporate social media, market influencers, vlogs, blogs, and podcasts as well. So some of you might be interested in checking out the podcast. We've done a couple of them now, and I'll post links on our webpage, and I'll even tag it below if you guys want to check it out. It is a little bit more focused on myself and my wife and just kind of a look at kind of life as entrepreneurs, but it's definitely a strategic move on our part. Part of a bigger branding strategy that allows us to kind of build the story of our products, brands, and services. And when I say our, I mean GreenLink's, so that we can build a little bit of a content resource for those. And based on the marketing rules and restrictions around how you can sponsor ads and do other things on behalf of our brands, one of the technically a bit of a loophole is we can reference conversations in podcasts. We can reference guests and things like that. So there are things that the podcast can advertise that we can't. So we are going to implement a strategy that involves bringing in a lot of guests, a lot of members of our own team as well, to talk about their experience in the cannabis industry, how they came to the spot that they're in now, as well as looking at some of the brands and products as we roll them out. So it's a bit of an interesting play, but if you're interested, it's called Under the Influence with the Georges. It's myself and my wife, who is a pretty well-known singer in the area, as well as an influencer and a little bit of a marketing guru when it comes to the social media side of things. So she's also a journalist, does lots of things, but this is deviating a little bit. But I wanted you guys to understand what you were seeing there. It isn't necessarily a GreenLink podcast, but it's going to be heavily focused on the brand and the products and the things that we do. So I think all of you would probably be interested, and you'll learn a lot more about my backstory, and the one that's coming out here in a couple of days, maybe even be out about the same time this is, will capture kind of a look at the origin story of how I got into the space and how GreenLink came to be initially. So I think a lot of you would find it interesting. So I want to focus on a couple of the really, really great things that have happened for us over the last month or so. We have been battling the banking industry a little bit. If you have ever delved into the space at all, you'll know that banking is a big problem. There are credit unions in Washington State that will work with cannabis businesses and cannabis adjacent businesses, so ancillary companies, and we fall kind of in the middle ground between those two. But the company's domiciled in Colorado, previously had leadership that was in Canada. So there were a number of things that that are hurdles to us actually being able to go in and open a traditional bank account and be open about the practices of our business and what and who we are. So we have been through the process of meeting with virtually every credit union here in Washington, figuring out what the rules and regs are, and the fees involved with banking here in this sector are ridiculous. They always have been. But for us, being that we don't actually physically touch the cannabis product on a daily basis, we believe we fit into a different category when it comes to banking. This has proven to be a significant battle, and it has been my entire existence in this industry. We've moved bank to bank and had people that are supportive for a month and change their minds, and people we were with for 3 years and then change their minds. Regardless of how we were handling the accounts payable side, it's always been difficult. So this is not new. But what has been frustrating and ultimately a really liberating feeling is the fact that OB Bank, it's OB Credit Union here in Washington, has really been making a strong push. And I went and met with them at CannaCon and had a lot of conversations about not just our company, but the companies that we manage and the companies that that lease our brands. Those folks are also looking for solutions and alternatives. So I was able to go in and kind of talk about us as a collective group and really secure banking options for multiple layers of the business, which is exciting. And I don't want to take all the credit for that. There's a lot of people that helped. But Tuesday, everything will be finalized. We'll actually be opening up the account at OB, and it'll streamline some of the business practices as well as clear another hurdle for the OTC. I wouldn't have an address to the shareholders without talking about the CE. I will tell you that continues to drag on. We have been working really hard. We don't stop working hard. And I want all of you to know that if there was a time that I thought I was wasting time and not getting the CE down by focusing on the wrong areas of the business, there are multiple people within the organization that would be really, really quick to point that out to me or vice versa. We still feel strongly as a collective group, including the board, that the market right now is so target rich. The process of getting the CE down is, in a lot of ways, it's straightforward. And when people look through the rules, I've said this before, they ask, well, it's not that hard. Just do this, this, and this, and we'll move forward. We aren't a traditional business. So just like I explained, the banking situation, that is part of the process. And it wasn't for lack of effort on our part to get a banking partner that would cooperate with us and we knew we could count on for years and years to come. Part of that required looking into the process of either changing the domicile of the business, which required a lot of shareholder activity, the board, of course, and those things don't happen quickly. So it's kind of, as we move along, we just take down another peg and move a little bit closer. It's certainly something that's high priority to all of us, but there are times when we're making an active decision to pursue an opportunity that's right in front of us that we don't think will be there long term. So this isn't anything hostile towards shareholders that are in this to make money and have joined the team because A, they support, but B, they're in the market to turn a profit. And we completely support that type of activity. But I just want to remind everyone that this has been 10 years of hard work for me. I keep saying that. It's actually been longer than that now. I've kind of pushed all the chips in. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear me talk about that. I mean, we've gone all the way in. Virtually everything I've created and touched in this industry has been lumped into this transaction. And I absolutely understand my fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we're maximizing our value to the shareholders every day. And I'm sticking to that very, very strongly. I'd also remind everyone I'm one of the largest shareholders and I'm locked up a lot longer than most. So this is something that we are going to do right. We really are. And I feel the pressure a little bit from some of the shareholders, but I also feel the support. And I think even those that have reached out and expressed some frustration with the timing understand that ultimately this is what's best in the long run. And their input and feedback, none of you, I never take it personal. I respect every one of your opinions. And I'll tell you, it's 20 people supporting to one asking where we're at with the process. And that's a great feeling. And I think even the people that are asking when the next steps are coming, it's not from a negative place. So don't feel bad about reaching out. Let's keep the lines of communication open. But I want to talk to you. Excuse me, I have a little sip here. I want to get into the nuts and bolts of what we have going on right here, right now. The market's so target rich right now that every time we set the executive summary in place and our go forward plan, of course, the core doesn't change. It fits into 5 core categories, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But the players and the pieces and the opportunities are shifting quite a bit, and it's happening regularly. For reference, our company strategy is consulting and management, CBD, branding and intellectual property, assets and leasing. And then there's kind of the franchising and project management is off to the side, because oftentimes we're exploring opportunities with companies in other markets where there may be residency restrictions or other requirements that don't allow us to actually participate. I'm going to kind of silo this into the CBD category for this conversation because it's the most exciting section right now. And if I'm hot, that's better. A little less professional, but that'll allow me to continue a little longer. It's getting warm under these lights. So you also may notice that there's a green screen behind me. It's not to be, super high production or anything. I just thought it would be kind of neat to kind of, throw a backdrop of one of the greenhouses out at the farm, like this one. Or if we're talking about a specific product in the future, I'd love to be able to just throw it up over my shoulder and say, have a look at one of our partners, at Jamrocks, and throw up a logo of Jamrocks there. So if it doesn't look great, don't worry about it. The point is the content here. And I think it's easier for me to just come in here and rap with you guys about the different areas of the business. I want to get back to the CBD. What we're doing, and has been a long-term plan of ours, we actually acquired the brand Suncliff and all of their assets and intellectual property. What I never really got into with you as shareholders on the intellectual property side was the Green and Rubino partnership that Suncliff had. They hired one of the best branding and marketing firms in the world to build out their intellectual property. So when they finished with the brand, it wasn't just the brand copy and the identity, it was all of the advertising needs, billboards, high-end photography, as well as kind of blueprints and layouts for how a regional and a national strategy would be for the brand. And I love the brands we've built. But what we have with Suncliff is such a comprehensive, in-depth strategy for taking a brand in the lifestyle, cannabis, and CBD market to a national and a global audience is extremely valuable. So we have been working on this for quite some time. We are working with a partner. I'm not going to mention the distribution partner for all of the online distribution of CBD just yet, because I kind of fear that you'll all flood their webpage and potentially bog it down, and the products are not up yet. I was really hoping to have sitting right about here the final packaging for all of the CBD candies. There are 6 different types of candy that are going out under the Suncliff brand. We also have a line of topicals that will all be launched at the same time. We're hoping by the end of this week to have a full launch of the products and available to you to purchase, for those of you that are here in the US, immediately if you want to sample some of the products that we manufacture. So, excuse me. What we're doing on the CBD side is we're going to open up a couple of flagship stores. The first one is going to be here in the Seattle market, ideally over the next couple of years in each of those 18 major markets. But for the time being, we're starting in our home network. And we're actually going to have a physical retail store here in Washington that's dedicated to the luxury and high-end topicals and CBD products. The reason for that is there's still a large percent of the population that does not want to have this delivered to their house, and they want to go into a physical store and talk with folks. So this is a bit of a lifestyle experience. Think very similar to a high-end cosmetics store, a luxury health spa. It's really small footprint, inexpensive because they don't come with the same amount of red tape that a THC branded retail store would. So we also have the advantages of a much more flexible tax situation, and we have a lot more revenue to acquire as top-line revenue for GreenLink International. So we are going to, I touched on this earlier, we're actually working with influencers in markets all over the country that are going to be offering our products and making our products and services known to their audience, and it's one of the workarounds for limited advertising. So we are partnering with people with large bases of clientele, followers, the influenced, if you will. those folks, the sell-through rate right now is through the roof, and it's actually one of the least expensive forms of marketing and advertising, and one of the most effective. And it's something that I firmly believe. Which, if you don't know a lot about this, you may think I'm crazy, but I'm actually going on record and talking about this because I want people to understand that we have such a strong understanding of how to market under today's climate using social media that we almost feel like the LCB and a lot of the regulatory bodies have actually played right into our hands. They're limiting our ability to advertise and market on television, radio, and a lot of the other mainstream, Google as well, mainstream broadcast media that really is actually dying. And almost every successful marketing company is dramatically steering their clientele towards a more organic, influencer-based platform using social media. And I think this is probably the golden opportunity for our company. And that's why you guys see me talking on social media, or if I'm passing on a quote for our folks to post on GreenLink's Twitter account, we are focused on brands. And yes, we have a big farm. Yes, we have multiple licenses out there that are leasing space from us, that are contractually obligated to sell products under our brands and help us establish market share. We're going to continue to replicate that model. We are going to continue to acquire assets and real estate in new markets and develop in those. But what I don't want to get caught up in is the fact that cannabis is a commodity to our products. To really drive home this point, I was explaining to a shareholder that I explained to them that our partners, like the folks at Big Ridge Farms, they negotiate the sale price of their flower every single transaction with every store. I believe last count, I checked last week, they were in a little over 60 stores every time they make an order. Creates a lot of overhead. It's a huge pain, but it makes sense. The top of the product is really high in THC. The bottom of the plant is really low in THC, but it's higher in CBD. So you've got this inverse relationship. Well, different clientele value different test results. The quality changes from one harvest to the next. As the flower gets older, it loses some value. So there are tons of variables that cause them to constantly question the price that they're paying, which opens the door for a negotiation every time you make a sale. And my point with this is I don't think in the last 2 years we've changed the price of an edible or a pre-roll, which is to say that the brands and the following that those products have, which are just a derivative of that flower, one, there's more margin, there's more customer loyalty, and a lot less price elasticity. We all know that the trends are leaning towards edibles and consumables in the coming years, but it takes a long time. I remember in the medical days, we had 20 different kinds of flour, a cookie, and a little gummy candy, and that was it. And it was about 3-4% of our business. It's not much better than that now here in the rec markets, even in medical markets. It's still a really small number, but the trends, and more importantly, the trends that I saw in my stores, it was about investing in staff that understood how they worked, driving the sale at the point of sale, adding those on to traditional flower customers. And most of them quickly find out it's a healthier alternative. It lasts much longer. The effects are often much stronger. And it's better for us as a business. It's a stronger tie to our brand. And the reason I say that is a particular strain of flower, let's call it OG Kush, is OG Kush. Anyone can grow it. Anyone can buy OG Kush seeds. It's not the same, but from a namesake standpoint, it is, and people believe it is. And it takes a long time for the market, the consumers in the market, to catch up with that a plant grown in the same exact spot under the same conditions as a clone of its original mother will have a different terpene profile and a different amount of THC and CBD, which is to say it's almost an entirely different plant than the one before it. Albeit it's got the same name and it came in the same package, it's a different experience. So back to Suncliff and a lot of our other products, we are actually doing experience-based products so that when a consumer comes in, they're not buying OG Kush. They're buying a product that falls under the calm, creative, energetic, or social category. And a soccer mom or someone that's new to cannabis or somebody that's been around cannabis but just wants to ensure that they're getting the same experience each time are able to come to these products and purchase one of our brands and know exactly what that experience is going to be, particularly in the vaporizer category. We can then bioidentically recreate that profile and introduce the THC and CBD, put that in a vape pen, and it's in a suspended cartridge where for 300 or 400 consumable puffs, you get the same experience time in, time out. And you can switch that. So simple cartridge change and you put in the other one, and you may want to go out with friends. So you're having your social pen. And so all of those are kind of scatter plotted and mapped out to create individual profiles so that the consumer actually knows what they're getting each time. That drives brand loyalty. That keeps them focused on our products and the kind of commitment to the experience.
I made the journey through the darkness. I found some light.
The 6, call them gummy candies, if you will, that are going out to market under Suncliff branded CBD. There's a line of chapstick and lip balms, and then of course a kind of a premium lotion that's being launched first. And then we're going to roll out some of the eye creams and some of the other products. We're also launching a line of Suncliff products back into the traditional THC market through the regulated recreational market here in the Pacific Northwest. The THC products are actually utilizing some of the controlled effects and experiences. So we're taking specific strains and altering the terpene profile of them to create individual experiences. So we think as opposed to having one pre-roll, we actually have 4 SKUs in that same category. And when you spread that out over different experiences and different strains, it brings dozens of new SKUs into the mix for our partners here in Washington. We are also rolling out a couple of other vaporizer products, both in the CBD and the THC markets. So we've never really talked much about this, but we were pretty big players in the vaporizer game in the medical market. There were some rule changes in 502 that made that product more difficult to sell. It's definitely something that we will reintroduce, but we're excited just to bring the Suncliff line of vaporizer cartridges back to the market. In large part because we have seemingly hundreds of thousands of packages for all of their products. That was one of the things that came with the acquisition was a very large amount of packaging and supplies, as well as POP and marketing materials. So we're excited to be relaunching that brand in the market. We think it's going to be huge.
I found some light along the way.
Our CBD will be sold in retail stores here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. We're also going to be selling the products online through an existing distribution partner with already actively selling CBD products. And so we're going to be added to their lineup, and we will be the flagship anchor of their outlet. We are also going to be doing satellite locations. So we're working with juice bars, hotels, fitness centers, spas, or salons. This is an important point. The Liquor and Cannabis Board regulates THC products. CBD market is not under those same policies. So our ability to deliver product on terms and carry a net 60 or net 90 term on the inventory, as anyone would know, makes it considerably easier to actually get the product placed inside of these locations. And right now in Washington, CBD is sold all over the place. In fact, I think it's even bordering on becoming saturated. But it's mostly sold in smoke shops. It just seems a little counterintuitive to go to a smoke shop, and to the left are your bongs and to the right are all your CBD products, and all the tobacco and cigars are over here. It's just an odd experience, and we think it's a great opportunity for us. It also gives us the opportunity to utilize a lot of the video content and bring in doctors and yoga instructors and interview people that are focused on the health and wellness side of life and physical activity, and incorporate that into our brand story a little bit. So it's part of a cohesive plan, and I'm intentionally keeping most of this conversation centered around the CBD silo because it is kind of one of the cores of our business plan. And when we get to the tech and some of the assets and leasing side of things, those will come down the line, and then consulting and project. You're going to hear more about some of our consulting and project management opportunities we have in front of us. I believe I'll be taking something to the board in the coming weeks that will give us an opportunity to get boots on the ground in another state. So stick with me on that. I only brought that up because I think a lot of you are going to see this move. If I can push it across the finish line, I think a lot of you are going to come back and say, I see where your attention's been a little bit, and it should be an exciting time. We have a big tech play we've been working on for months now. We're trying to push that over the edge. We are going to kind of wrap up the financials and get all of that submitted, and then we're immediately going to turn our attention on some growth capital. We'll go out and we are going to do some fundraising to continue to acquire some of these companies that we've got under contract, as well as some that are targets for the near future. So part of our growth and development is we know that we are absolutely in a foot race for market share, and I think rather than focusing our business, and to be honest with you, it's never been a core piece of our business to have the largest grows in the world. We want to have some of the biggest brands in the world, because ultimately when those large farms are treated like a commodities farm, it'll be about margin, it'll be about brand loyalty, and it'll be about sell-through channels. And we are going to try and create as many of those as possible, particularly while most people are having to expand their gardens to satisfy their shareholder base. It's a slippery slope. Large production of cannabis, big part of who we are. But the need for 800,000 square foot facilities, that's a marketing play to keep the money coming in from fundraising. I don't blame them. They don't understand the market. It's new. They need to be able to be press a button, get a banana, press a button, get a banana. I'm not implying that the investments groups are not intelligent. I just think a lot of the brokerages are looking for things that fit into a box that they don't even understand what shape the box is. We're focused on brands, and I think in the short term, there are going to be a lot of companies that raise a ton of capital building out these big platforms, and they'll have 600,000-700,000 square feet of grow. I don't know what they're going to do with all that product, to be honest with you. I think one of the things that's really interesting is a market like Florida. They are kind of setting the expected canopy needs for their consumers, except the consumers are not allowed to smoke cannabis. They can only eat it in a consumable form, which means the product is never going to hit the shelves as flower. That's going to change, but under the current rules, it would never hit the shelves as flower. Well, the actual amount of time a consumer is either high or medicated from cannabis when it's consumed is exponentially longer. So if you kind of take this concept of well, if all the flower was consumed by 1 million people, that's enough for 1 gram a day for 3 months. But if you were to convert it to oil and put it in, say, a 10 or 20 milligram dose, that's enough cannabis for people for 3 years, that same group. So the product goes a lot further, and it doesn't deteriorate like flour does. You can store oil for a long period of time, which is kind of back to that commodity. It's just something that we could buy in bulk and store and feed our supply for years to come with a set cost basis, not a lot of variables, one test result. We know for 6 months what the amounts and quantities needed in our products to reach the requirements of the state are. And when you've got flour that's changing from one section of the plant to the other and one test result to the next, it adds a degree of variables that slow down your production, slim down your margins. So you guys can see and understand why I'm so dead set on building the brands, and I want to focus a lot of our energy on the CBD market for the time being, because it allows us to penetrate into new markets, build the story around our brand, and as the markets catch up and licensing and some of these new markets start to get their foothold, we will already have an established brand, and to roll in our THC product will be no problem at all. As we continue to highlight the benefits of our brands and the expansion, as well as the addition of new real estate and new tech, new consulting projects, as that all starts to pile up, we will be able to highlight those things through really targeted social media marketing. And I am 100% confident that for a long play, this deal, those of you that have bought into this project are sitting in. We're in a really great spot, guys. So I'm not expecting everyone to be here for years and years and years to come. There's been times in my life when I've found an opportunity, I've found a way to make good money, and I've walked from it, and I've left it there, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I know there's a lot of you out there, but for those of you that are in this for the long haul, I'm really excited. So I appreciate everyone's time. I know that we'll need to get a little more of a formal structure for this. I don't know that this is the platform for us to have an in-depth look at our pitch deck and really dig into the financials and what our long-term plan is, but I will continue to incorporate the day-to-day activities, particularly coming into the next couple of weeks. The Tacoma production facility is coming online. That's the facility that's producing the vast majority of these CBD products. So this is going to be a really, really great couple of months for GreenLink International. We've also got our partners at Big Ridge getting ready to put down their next harvest. They're continuing to build out new pads. As soon as the snow melts, it was like 4 feet deep. Maybe I can put a picture of that right here. Crazy. Our greenhouses are doing amazingly in the snow, but our staff, that's a different story. But anyway, lots of great things happening, and I appreciate everybody. I hope you've been having a wonderful start to your new year. If there are any questions, fire them off to us. We've got another podcast we're going to do this week, and we actually have Randall Smith, who, as you all know, is a retired NFL athlete, one of my dear friends, and a member of the board. We're going to have him on and just kind of talk about a little bit about us growing up, I guess, and a lot about the NFL and a lot about CBD and how he came to be in the cannabis industry and how he can help our company grow. Of course, we will then use a lot of that content to post throughout Twitter and other social media accounts. So if you see our stuff out there, share it, repost it. All the support is helpful, and I will continue to do this. If you guys would like me to get a little more formal and sit at a whiteboard, and be a little more structured, I'm happy to do so. But this feels a little more organic. And to be honest with you, it provides more useful content for us across all platforms. So
I made the journey through the darkness. I found some light along the way. Never going back, it's time to ride.
let's see, in closing, I just sincere thank you to all of you who are providing feedback. If you have a friend or a family member or an opportunity that you're aware of and you think it's somebody that we should be speaking to, send us a notice in the contact entry form. It makes it to us. They always get read, and as a group, we collectively compile the information and try to provide feedback. Sometimes it may take a little bit, but definitely if there are business opportunities that you think we should be aware of, let us know. Even if you're not a shareholder, if you stumbled on this because a friend mentioned it or you saw it pop up on a feed, and you just happen to watch this whole thing, reach out. If you're interested in the space and trying to figure out if there's a place in the market for you, whether that be through capital investment or just good old sweat equity, let us know. We're exploring opportunities in every state and just about every corner of the world, so feel free to reach out. Hope everyone has a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Oh, one last thing. You guys got to like, subscribe, follow, share, get it out there. The more people that know about us, the faster this climb to the top will be. Thanks. Have a great day, guys.